A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus again, in reply, spoke to the chief priests and the elders of the people in parables, saying, "The kingdom of heaven may be likened to a king who gave a wedding feast for his son. He dispatched his servants to summon the invited guests to the feast, but they refused to come. A second time he sent other servants, saying, 'Tell those invited, behold, I have prepared my banquet. My calves and fattened cattle are killed, and everything is ready. Come to the feast.' Some ignored the invitation and went away, one to his farm, another to his business. The rest laid hold of his servants, mistreated them, and killed them. The king was enraged and sent his troops, destroyed those murderers, and burned their city. Then he said to his servants, 'The feast is ready, but those who were invited were not worthy to come. Go, therefore, into the main roads and invite to the feast whomever you find.' The servants went out into the streets and gathered all they found, bad and good alike, and the hall was filled with guests. But when the king came in to meet the guests, he saw a man there not dressed in a wedding garment. The king said to him, 'My friend, how is it that you came in here without a wedding garment?' But he was reduced to silence. Then the king said to his attendants, 'Bind his hands and feet, and cast him into the darkness outside, where there will be wailing and grinding of teeth. Many are invited, but few are chosen.'" The Gospel of the Lord. When I think back on some of the children's stories I read when I was little, I can see that there's some pretty good lessons for big people in them. And some of those lessons are lessons that we also hear about from Scripture. And so when I thought about today's Gospel, the children's story that came to mind was one that was written back in 1930 by a man who called himself Watty Piper. And the story is entitled "The Little Engine That Could." And so here's the story. Chug, chug, puff, puff. The little train rumbled over the tracks. She was a happy little train. Her cars were filled with good things for boys and girls. There were toy animals, giraffes with long necks, teddy bears with almost no necks at all, and even a baby elephant. There were dolls and the funniest toy clown you ever saw. But that was not all. Some cars were filled with good things for boys and girls to eat, and lollipops for after-meal treats. The little train was carrying all these wonderful things to the good little boys and girls on the other side of the mountain. She puffed along merrily. Then all of a sudden, she stopped with a jerk. She simply could not go another inch. Her wheels would just not turn. "Here comes a shiny new engine," said the little clown who jumped off the train. "Please, shiny new engine, won't you please pull our train over the mountain? Our engine has broken down, and the good little boys and girls on the other side won't have any toys to play with or good things to eat unless you help us." But the shiny new engine snorted, "I pull you? I am a passenger engine. I have just carried a big fine train over the mountain with more cars than you ever dreamed of. My train had sleeping cars and dining cars and parlor cars. I pull the likes of you? Indeed not." And off he steamed. But then the little clown called out, "Here comes another big strong engine. Let us ask him to help us." "Please, big engine," cried all the dolls and toys, "won't you please help us?" But this big strong engine bellowed, "I am a freight engine. I have just pulled a train with big machines over the mountain. I am a very important engine indeed. I won't pull the likes of you." And off he puffed. The little train and all the dolls and toys were very sad. "Cheer up," cried the little toy clown. "Here comes another. He looks very old and tired, but our train is so little, perhaps he can help us." But the rusty old engine sighed, "I am so tired, I must rest my weary wheels. I cannot pull even so little a train as yours over the mountain. I cannot, I cannot, I cannot." And off he rumbled. By now, the dolls and toys were ready to cry, but the little clown cried out, "Here comes a little blue engine, a very little one. Maybe she will help us." The very little engine came chug-chugging merrily along. "What is the matter, my friend?" she asked kindly. "Oh, little blue engine, will you pull us over the mountain? Please, please help us, little blue engine." "I'm not very big," said the little blue engine. "They use me only for switching cars in the yard. I have never been over the mountain. But I think I can, I think I can, I think I can." And she hitched herself to the little train. She tugged and pulled and pulled and tugged, and slowly, slowly they started off. Puff, puff, chug, chug went the little blue engine. "I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can." Up, 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 faster and faster the little engine climbed, until at last they reached the top of the mountain. "Hooray, hooray," cried the funny little clown and all the dolls and toys. "The good little boys and girls in the city will be happy because you helped us, kind little blue engine." And the little blue engine smiled and seemed to say, as she puffed steadily down the mountain, "I thought I could, I thought I could, I thought I could." And so when I think of today's gospel and the parable of Christ about the king who gave this grand wedding feast and requested all those in his kingdom to come, I think of the image of the engines from that story and the shiny new engines. I see the image of the one who's invited but has more important things to do, and they get indignant and even hostile. And then the unambitious, rusty old engine, I see the image of the wedding guest who feels that all he can do is bring himself and can't even put on a proper wedding garment. And then there's the little blue engine, and even though she wasn't the first one chosen, she was the one who was up to the task. And of course, that's the image that Christ calls us to. So if we think about what our gospel today is teaching us, we can think about it in a couple of ways. First of all, each of us is invited on a weekly and a daily basis to come to the celebration of the Eucharist. And not only to come ourselves, but to bring along our minds and our hearts, and maybe bring others along who are reluctant or otherwise unable to come, and to bring our talents, and perhaps to bring our singing voices, even though we're not quite sure of them, to sing with all our skill, and even think about joining one of our choirs at our parish here. And so if we think of that invitation, we can reply like one of those big shiny engines, "I am more important, indeed not." Or perhaps like that rusty old engine, "I cannot sing, I cannot sing, I cannot sing." And even though we may not have the best voice, we might reply like that ambitious, hopeful little blue engine, "I think I can sing. I think I can, I think I can. I will give it a try." And then, of course, in the journey of our lives, we are invited to the eternal banquet, the heavenly Jerusalem, that we hear about in our first reading from the book of the prophet Isaiah, the celebration on the mountaintop. And like the little blue engine, we say, "I have never been to the other side of the mountain." Well, how did she get there? She saw the needs of others, And by helping them on their journey, she made the journey herself. What a wonderful lesson for us. We see the needs of others unexpectedly, and we may not be the first person they ask for help. But when we respond in our prayers, in our works, we help them on their journey, and we ourselves take a step on the journey to the heavenly Jerusalem. And when we have come to the end of the journey of our lives, when we have climbed the mountain, and we have attained the eternal celebration, like that little blue engine, we can smile and we can say to ourselves, I thought I could.